We left Boston heading for Maine in the morning. It's about a 5-hour drive, maybe 260 or 70 miles, but we were a little bit taken back that Bar Harbor, Maine would be 1,000 miles from North Carolina. By far, that's the farthest I've ever been away from home. So that was something strange about that, but we got over it and we headed up the interstate and we stopped for lunch in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, which is a really cool little town. There's so many places I wish we'd had more time to spend. Portsmouth's one of them. Had a great downtown area. We ate lunch there. We did some shopping and then we headed on. But as luck would have it, right near Freeport, Maine, we got a rock in the windshield of the family truckster and we had to repair it. So I stopped and got this repair kit, and it just turns out that it takes 30, 45 minutes to dry, and we were right there at LL Bean. So we were able to do some shopping, and if you haven't seen the LL Bean home place, it's like the whole town is LL Bean, so it's kind of cool. But after that, we got back on the road, and we went up through, and right near Bangor, headed down east to Mount Desert Island. All right. We arrived at our hotel, the Holiday Inn, right there on the bay, Frenchman's Bay, early in the evening. It's a really, it's kind of a cool hotel. It's nothing fancy, but it has a glass elevator that you can ride up and look out over the water, which is really neat. Let's see, we dropped our luggage and we headed to downtown Bar Harbor. Downtown Bar Harbor it's just teeming with activity, and there's shops and there's stores, and it's just beautiful right on the water. We spent the evening there, but you know, this was our 6th day in New England, and we'd had quite a bit of chowder and seafood, so we opted for Roselli's Pizza downtown, which was a nice change. It was very good. The next day, we were up and at it early, heading to Acadia National Park. We were so excited. The first stop was Cadillac Mountain, and Cadillac Mountain is a little over 1,500 feet. Now, we're used to Clingman's Dome and Mount Mitchell here in the south, so we were thinking it wouldn't be that impressive. But frankly, when we crested the peak and you could look out over Frenchman's Bay, it was just amazing. It was just a beautiful view, breathtaking. After that, we took the loop down to Sand Beach, which was really neat. And then Thunder Hole, and then on around to eat lunch at Jordan Pond House. I think what I remember most about being in New England was this was in late May, early June, and it was so cool. The air was really nice. You could sit outside at Jordan Pond House and eat lunch, and it was the weather was just incredible. Later that afternoon, we went back to visiting Bar Harbor and the shops, and then we went to the Addy Museum, which is an Indian museum in downtown. And I didn't hold out a lot of hope for it, but then when I got inside, it was really cool. The folks there were great, and the museum's it's definitely worth a stop. After that, we roamed around and we went down to Bass Harbor, which is kind of on this island next to the one we were on, and we were searching for the famous Bass Harbor light, and we found it. Then there's two things you can do, or two paths to go to the lighthouse. One is a short path, and you're right up under it, and it doesn't look very impressive. It's kind of neat, but you're like, this doesn't look like that beautiful shot of the Maine lighthouse that we've seen in all the brochures. So you have to hike a bit down a trail and then down on the rocks to well, I'm not sure, I think the east of it, but anyway, it's a long trail down, and then you can get some wonderful pictures of the light. So that is definitely worth doing. I can't remember. The last day of our adventures there on the island, we decided to take a 4-hour puffin and whale watching tour. And it's probably the most expensive thing we did in New England, but I don't know, we didn't see any puffins. I mean, my eyesight's not that good, but I used binoculars in my camera. We weren't close enough to see any puffins. We did see some whales, but just kind of like the backs of them, you don't really see the whale. But most striking was being in the ocean on this boat, everybody on the boat, with the exception of Janet and I and a couple ladies we were sitting with, were sick. there's like bags everywhere. It's like this big festival of nausea. It's just people were sick and throwing up, and it's like 4 hours and you're trapped out there. And they have a bar and a place you can get drinks, but the boat doesn't really stay still long enough for you to hold on to anything to drink. And anyway, I wouldn't do that one again. I think, like I said, I was glad I got to see the whales up close. That was pretty neat. But I don't think that I would do the whale watching tour again. Just not. I don't think it was worth 4 hours of our time. Last but not least, we had what was, I guess, what is called the ultimate downeastern meal. You know, it's the feast of Maine lobster. You know, we went to Stewman's, which was a lobster restaurant right there on the bay, and you know they cook the lobster for you and stuff. But the way it's served is they bring you this big giant tub. And you got to do this if you go to Maine. You have to eat Maine lobster. It's just a given. You start out with some chowder, and then they bring this big pot. It looks like something my mom would cook a roast beef in. And it has a lobster, and it has corn, and it has some quahogs or clams, and it's all in this big pot, and it's steamed. Now, I had a little difficulty, you know, actually maneuvering or manipulating the lobster, but the young lady there was very helpful, and she showed me how you remove the tail or get it out of the tail, the meat from the claws, and it's a must-do. You just got to eat the Maine lobster when you go there. It's wonderful stuff. But one of my favorite things about Maine was the blueberries. Maine blueberries are really tiny, and they make blueberry pie, or Janet had a blueberry top cheesecake at Jordan Pond House, and they're just fantastic. It's just an incredible, I don't know, the size, the texture. The Maine blueberries are awesome. So anyway, had a great time at the lobster pot. They even showed us a lobster they caught that was 4 pounds. It's like, oh my. I think that's it. So now we're off to Vermont, and well, we'll go through New Hampshire, Vermont, and then head down start heading back south. The only regret we had about Mount Desert Island in Maine was that we didn't get to spend more time there. It is just incredible. What a wonderful place.